Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Esther Speaks Out. This evening, I would like to talk with you about forgiveness. Forgiveness is something that is sometimes very hard to do. When someone you love, someone you trusted, betrays your trust, does something that hurts you, whether it's by accident or on purpose, it's very painful. If someone cheats on you, if someone lies to you, it's very, very hurtful. And it takes a lot sometimes to forgive, especially if that person has a pattern or a history of betraying our trust or doing things that hurt us. But I want to challenge us to really start thinking about forgiveness in a different way. Think about forgiveness in terms of what we need to do for ourselves. And forgiveness doesn't mean that what the person did is okay. It also doesn't mean that you need to still be in relationship with that person. But what forgiveness does mean is that we let ourselves and the other person off the hook for wanting revenge. Because the reality is, at the end of the day, karma comes back to a person. And we don't have to be the one to stick around for that to happen. I know in my life, there's a lot of forgiveness I've had to do. I had to forgive my father for abusing me. I had to forgive my mother for not only abusing me, but then later on wanting things from me. And it was very, very hard. And honestly, I couldn't do it in my own power. I couldn't. There was too much hurt, too much anger. And a lot of times we think it's in our power to forgive others. But for me, I learned it's not because I want to necessarily forgive. It's that I've learned it's important to forgive. It's important to forgive because when we don't forgive, it damages our heart. It damages our emotions. And we're the ones walking around wounded and hurting other people in the process, or being so afraid that we don't even let others into our lives. And I know growing up, I had been abused by my mother for years as a kid. And as a teenager, we didn't get along either. And as an adult, we didn't. And it was because she would do and say the most mean and vicious things. And it hurt my feelings to the core. And it took me years to have to process it, because what ultimately happened was I thought I wasn't worth anything because of how she was treating me. And sometimes we think that because others mistreat us, that means that we don't have value and worth. But I had to learn on my journey that there is worth and value inside of me because I am a child of God. God has been the one has helped me to see that at the end of the day, people can say whatever they want to about you. As long as they don't put their hands on you, you're going to be okay. And even when they put their hands on me, the bottom line is God has showed me, let me get the vengeance. Let me handle them. Because a lot of times we think, oh, I'm going to get revenge on a person. But the very thing we think might get revenge is the very thing they don't care about anyway. So they've moved on with their life and they're doing what they do, how they do. And we're the ones sitting back hurt and bitter. And there is no need for that. And I'm not saying that, oh, go be everybody's friend. But what I am saying about forgiveness is at the end of the day, we first have to learn to forgive ourselves. Because what I've learned is a lot of times we're not even so much angry with the person as we are with ourselves. We're mad because we didn't see it coming. We're mad because we didn't follow our gut instinct. We're mad because no matter what we did, we still end up getting the short end of the stick. And there were plenty of situations that I've had to face that with. There could be relationships that I was out with someone and dating them and then find out that they're cheating and they're talking to this one, that one, and doing all kind of stuff. And initially I'd be hurt and then I'd be mad and I'd be angry. But I read in Iyanla Vanzant's book one day, it's like, you're not mad at the person per se. Yeah, they hurt you, but you're mad because you didn't see it coming. And when I heard that, I said, wow, that's it. And why didn't I see it coming becomes the next question. I didn't see it coming because I told myself something that wasn't true. I told myself a lie, whatever the case was. Or I believe so much in the goodness of people and trying to help people out that I didn't pay attention to see, was I seeing any fruit from what I was given? And not only that, was I at peace within with the choices I was making? And when I began to tell myself the absolute truth about some things, I began to see I was not mad so much at them. I was mad at myself for being such a fool. I was mad at myself for not trusting myself when that first thought came. There was this guy I dated one time, and he seemed nice. We met at some gathering. And my first instinct was, no, don't even let that be. No. And then I rationalized, like we sometimes do. Well, he seems so nice. Well, everybody's always saying I'm being so hard on men. So let me just give him a shot. And even still, when I looked in retrospect, there were other signals that at the time I didn't get. He would be on the phone talking with me, and I'd be like, oh, come on, let's go hang out. And he's like, oh, I can't. Oh, I'm going to hang out with my friends. But an hour later, we still on the phone. And I began to see, okay, something's off here. But a lot of times, one of the reasons why we don't forgive ourselves is because we sensed it. I sensed something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And a lot of times, especially as women, we see stuff and we feel it. We're like, but I don't see it in the visible, but I'm sensing something. Trust what you sense the first time. Trust your gut feeling. When that feeling says, nope, follow it. When that thought comes, bring your umbrella, follow it. And a lot of times, the forgiveness is not even about the other person. It's about ourselves. And one of the greatest things I had to forgive myself about was when I was sexually abused by my father. It devastated me. But what devastated me even more when I look back in retrospect was that the thought came that first time it was about to happen that something's off here. And I was 12 years old. I said, something is off here. And I didn't follow that thought. And he said, oh, come, I'm going to give you a massage. Something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And then I rationalized it. I said, yo, there's no way he would do something like that to me. And then when I look back in retrospect, I began to see little small things. So when the abuse did finally happen, I was devastated because I later on realized I had rationalized it. Not only had this person like violated me in the ultimate way, and like my dad was like my hero, but at the end of the day, I was even more mad with myself because I began a pattern of rationalizing things in my life for decades, not even realizing where it all stemmed from. And I was mad with myself that I didn't do anything about it at the time. I was mad with myself that I didn't trust myself. And so the lesson I learned about forgiveness for that was I had to not only forgive my father for what he did before he died and know that God's going to somehow handle that. And he died a horrible way, by the way. But I also had to later on, years, and I'm talking about a couple of decades later, forgive myself. And I had to say, you know what? You did the best you could with what you knew how. And not only that, you loved him so much that you didn't want to believe that he was that kind of person. And at the end of the day, that's what forgiveness is about. Forgiveness is about forgiving ourselves so that we can move on and have better things in our lives. And it's also about letting that other person be at peace. Because at the end of the day, nobody can do wrong to others and it somehow not come back to them. And we don't have to be the ones to get the revenge. But what I'm learning is we are the ones who need to get the lesson. What did I miss in this? What lie did I tell myself? And sometimes it's not even that we told ourselves a lie. Sometimes we just didn't believe who people showed who they were the first time. I knew for years how my mother was. But I always wanted to believe because I wanted her to be the mother who she wasn't, the caring and nurturing and sweet. And I wanted her to be something she wasn't and wasn't probably ever going to be for me. And so I would allow myself to go back in her environment or go around her only to be humiliated, disrespected, and many other things, even as an adult. And I had to forgive myself for that. And then when I got saved and I became a Christian, that was a whole new journey because I felt God was just like, you know what? You don't have to be around her all the time, but you do need to forgive her. You need to forgive her because I've forgiven you for all the things you've ever done. And I know you don't understand this, but I'm going to use this. And I look back years later and seeing how there were times my mother would say or do certain things just vicious and disrespectful, straight out disrespectful, where I would still sometimes have to just tell her off. But then after that, she would come back and want something. And then the Lord would be tapping on my heart like, go do it. And I was like, Lord, I don't feel like it. That's wrong. And he let me vent. And then he said, okay, now I'm going to need you to go do that. But he knew my heart. And because I've worked on keeping my heart clean as possible with all the crap that's happened, I said, you know what, Lord, I'm just going to trust you in this. I'm not feeling it, but I'm going to trust you. And I watch how those same very situations, God will turn around and give her like a revelation. Now, it took a very long time. I'm not saying be around someone who has disrespected you, betrayed you, mistreated you, lied, stolen from you. But what I will say is I have seen how God will take that very thing, that very issue that the person talked about you about, and turn around and bless you in such a way that all they could say is like, wow, you're doing that for me, knowing how I've treated you. I don't do it for her. I do it so I can stay in right relationship with God. I do it because I know that at the end of the day, God has a bigger plan connected to all of this than I could ever imagine or think. And so when I talk about forgiveness and how we need to forgive not only others, but ourselves, because at the end of the day, we are all human. At the end of the day, we all hurt somebody some way, somehow, whether we know it or not. And at the end of the day, just like we need grace and we ask for forgiveness for others when we do something wrong, when we come late, when we don't do something we said we would do, or by accident, when we say something that we didn't mean and the person took it the wrong way, we get grace. So at the end of the day, forgiveness is about grace. Forgiveness is about giving grace to ourselves for being human and giving grace to others. Now, does that mean I'm going to hang around my mother or anybody else for that matter all the time? No, because I've learned how to deal with people like that. So you love them from a distance. It's okay. I can love you. I'll pray for you. And even if I ain't praying for you, I'm going to still wish you the best because I know at the end of the day, God's got me. No matter what somebody ever does to you, always remember this. They never win. It looks like it at the time, but I see more and more. I hear about exes. I hear about friends, all kind of stuff that people did wrong to me throughout the years. And then you hear it comes back to them, or not even that way. Because the bottom line, God says, vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord. And the bottom line is, we don't know what would hurt a person. We don't know how the karma we've given out or that person's given out is going to come back. So again, what we think would hurt somebody may not. So I've learned, Lord, I'm going to give that to you. And in the meantime, I need you to keep my heart right so that I can fulfill the purpose and plans you have for my life. So today I'm speaking out against forgiveness in terms of us holding on to it. Give people the grace. People are human, but treat them accordingly. Maya Angelou once said, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And if we would just trust ourselves with our instincts and our gut feeling the first time and not rationalize it, we would have a lot less people to forgive in the ways that we need to. But more important, we would have to forgive ourselves less because we learn to trust ourselves. So in closing, I just want to encourage you. If there's somebody who has done you wrong and you're still holding on to bitter feelings about it, let it go. And letting go sometimes means to have a good heart cry. I've cried and cried and cried sometimes. And it's a cleansing. I learned it cleanses my soul. It cleanses my spirit. I listen to songs that help me to heal. So we have to do things that help us to heal and let go. Let go of the person, let go of the offense, but get the lesson, because that's what I've learned. Because if you don't get the lesson, the stakes get higher. But trust yourselves and trust yourself that you're strong enough to get over whatever has happened to you. I have gotten over so many things: family betrayal, sexual abuse, partner betrayal, worker betrayal. I've gone through a lot. People murdering family members of mine, all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that my heart is right. Because when my heart is right, I know I'm right with God, and I know that, you know what? No matter what, I still end up getting blessed. And it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, no matter what, you could never do something and not get away with it. We may think a person's getting away with it, but one thing I've learned, and I'm getting old enough more and more to see, God is a God of justice. And what we think is justice and what we would interpret as justice is not how he thinks. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. He's got a bigger plan for us. But holding on to that bitterness and anger, it doesn't get us where we want to be in life and what we want to do with our lives. And some of us, we just have to learn to say, you know what? You got that one. But I'm still going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, no matter what someone has done to you or me, we made it through. That in itself is the victory. That in itself is the prize. That we still have our worth and value, because nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take that away from you. No one can take your purpose away from you. But we sometimes give people that kind of power. So forgiveness is about letting go. Let go, forgive, give grace, and treat people accordingly, so that not only we can be free, but we can fulfill the purpose and plan that God has for us. Please leave a comment. Let me know if there are topics that you would like for me to discuss. Let me know what you thought about the video. But at the end of the day, I hope you take one thing away from this, is that at the end of the day, we are not judge and jury. We can only get wisdom from the choices we have made, from loving ourselves, trusting ourselves, and trusting that no matter what happens, karma is going to come back around and we don't have to be the ones to see it. Take care. Bye-bye.